What does ownership mean to you in the digital age? In the not-so-distant past, ownership was a tangible concept. You could hold it, touch it, and store it on a shelf. Remember the days of CDs, DVDs, and Blu-rays? The satisfaction of peeling off the plastic wrap, popping open the case, and physically owning your favorite music album or movie. Ownership was clear and absolute. You bought a CD, it was yours. You could lend it to a friend, resell it, or even use it as a frisbee if you chose to, and when you bought a book you owned every page, every word, every ink blot. You could underline phrases, dog-ear pages, and pass it down through generations. But today the concept of ownership has taken a dramatic turn. We've moved from a world of physical goods to a reality dominated by digital ones. Our music, our movies, our books, and even our games have become intangible, living somewhere in the cloud. Consider the shift to streaming services like Netflix and Spotify. You pay a monthly fee and in return you get access to a vast library of media. But do you own it? Not really, you're merely renting, borrowing. If these services shut down tomorrow or decide to remove your favorite movie or song, there's not much you can do. This shift towards digital goods and services has fundamentally changed our perception of ownership. We're no longer owners but rather subscribers. We're at the mercy of service providers, and the power to truly own something is slipping away from us. The digital age has brought us convenience and access like never before. But it's also blurring the lines of what it means to own something. We're trading in our rights for convenience, but at what cost? But as we dive deeper into the digital age, is our concept of ownership being further distorted? Stay tuned as we delve into the role of big tech in this changing landscape of ownership in our next scene. Exploring the heart of the digital age, we find a landscape shaped by big tech giants. Amazon, Google, and Apple are not just participants, instead they are pioneers leading us into a new era. An era where our very concept of ownership is experiencing a metamorphosis. These tech giants have not only molded the digital landscape, but are also reframing our perception of ownership. Consider Amazon, the titan of the ebook market. Purchasing an ebook from Amazon doesn't mean you own the book in the conventional sense, but that you've bought a license to read the book. This system hands an enormous amount of control to Amazon, even permitting them to remotely delete books from your device or modify content without your approval. Google, the gatekeeper to the world's information, has revolutionized the dynamics of online content ownership due to its control over digital ads. It holds the power to determine the visibility of content, placing content creators and advertisers at the mercy of its algorithms and policies. Likewise, Apple's supremely controlled ecosystem of apps and services has our consumption of digital content. Buying an app on the App Store doesn't mean you truly own the app, but that you've purchased a license to use the app within the boundaries of Apple's ecosystem. These examples depict the transition from traditional ownership towards digital tenancy, casting big tech companies as the landlords and users as the tenants. This new ownership model is heavily biased in favor of big tech, leaving users with less control over the products and services they pay for. Are tech giants like Amazon, Google, and Apple redefining ownership for their benefit? As we journey further into the digital age, this is a question we must persistently address. Have you ever read the terms and conditions before clicking "I agree"? Quite the question, isn't it? We all know the drill. A pop-up window appears with a lengthy document filled with legal jargon, and we promptly scroll to the bottom to click "I agree" and move on. But what exactly are we agreeing to? Let's take a closer look. User agreements and terms of service are not just formalities. They're legally binding contracts that dictate how a company can use your data, how it can change its services, and more importantly, what rights you have as a user. These documents often contain clauses that limit users' ownership rights, sometimes in ways that might surprise you. Take Apple's iCloud terms, for example. If you use iCloud, you're entrusting your data to Apple. Photos, documents, contacts, everything. But did you know that Apple's terms state that the company can delete your data at any time? Yes, you heard it right. The data that you thought was yours, stored safely in the cloud, can be wiped out without your consent. And it's not just Apple. Other tech giants have similar clauses lurking in their terms of service. These companies argue that these terms are necessary to manage their services efficiently. They say it's about maintaining the integrity of their systems and protecting users from potential harm. But the question is, at what cost? When we accept these terms, are we unknowingly giving up our ownership rights? Are we, in essence, renting the digital aspects of our lives rather than owning them? This is not just about data. It's about the music we listen to, the books we read, the games we play, and the apps we use daily. The fine print in the agreements we hastily accept often means we don't own these things. We merely license them. And these licenses can be revoked, altered, or restricted at the discretion of these tech companies. So, next time you're faced with a lengthy user agreement, take a moment. Ponder over the fine print. Ask yourself, is big tech using fine print to erode our ownership rights? It might just be the most important question you ask yourself today. In a world where big tech controls ownership, what fate befalls the creators? This is a puzzle that perplexes many. This conundrum particularly resonates with musicians, app developers, authors, and a plethora of others. In the expansive terrain of the digital age, the imaginative brains that power our enjoyment and practicality find themselves wrestling with the harsh truths of big tech's dominance. Let's delve into the world of music. Passionate artists invest their emotions and creativity into producing tracks that touch the hearts of millions. However, the harsh reality strikes when their songs reach streaming platforms like Spotify, and the resulting earnings are a poor reflection of their widespread popularity. For a decent income, an artist needs to accumulate hundreds of thousands to millions of plays on these platforms, a stark contrast to selling a handful of physical copies in the past. But it's all about the musicians. App developers are a part of this narrative too. These digital architects who build the experiences we relish every day frequently find themselves at the mercy of tech behemoths like Apple. Apple's App Store, a gigantic marketplace, provides developers with an audience of millions. But this exposure comes with the hefty price of surrendering a notable chunk of their income to Apple. Consider it A for accessing the road to profitability. And the issue extends beyond just money. It's equally about control. When these tech powerhouses can dictate what makes it onto their platforms, they also gain the power to set the regulations. This could potentially curb innovation and restrict the creative liberties of these creators. Hence, we are trapped in a paradox. The digital revolution, once heralded as the great equalizer of creation and distribution, is now dominated by a handful of tech overlords, with creators usually at the losing end of this power disparity. Is the digital age shortchanging creators? This is a question that necessitates contemplation, dialogue, and most crucially, intervention. In a world where creativity is the new gold, we cannot allow it to lose its value. How is the future of ownership shaping up in the face of big tech dominance? The question lingers, heavy with implications. As we hurtle into the future, the concept of ownership is undergoing a radical transformation. But let's not surrender to despair just yet. The future isn't necessarily a dystopian landscape where big tech holds all the cards. Imagine a world where you control your data, where creators hold the rights to their content, where the digital assets you purchase are genuinely yours. This isn't a pipe dream, it's a potential reality, thanks to a burgeoning technology, blockchain. Blockchain, the technology underpinning cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, is a decentralized, secure system. It's a digital ledger of transactions, open to all and owned by none. It's the antithesis of the centralized model of big tech, and it could revolutionize the concept of ownership. With blockchain, users can truly own their digital assets. From ebooks to digital art, these assets could be bought, sold, or traded, just like physical goods. The technology could also empower creators, allowing them to retain control over their work and profit directly from it, bypassing the tech behemoths that currently act as gatekeepers. Moreover, blockchain could return control of personal data to individuals. Instead of tech companies hoarding and profiting from your data, you could control who has access to it and even monetize it if you choose. But it's not all sunshine and roses. The rise of blockchain also raises new questions about security, regulation, and accessibility. And of course, big tech won't cede control without a fight. But it's a step, a potential game changer. The future of ownership is an unwritten book. It's a tale of empowerment and control, of battles waged and yet to be fought. The rise of decentralized technologies like blockchain could be a significant chapter in this story, heralding a shift in power dynamics. Could technology itself provide a solution to the ownership problem it created? Only time will tell, but the seeds of change have been sown, and they hold the promise of a future where ownership returns to the hands of the many, not the few. So, how can you protect your ownership rights in the digital age? This is a dilemma that constantly haunts us, my dear friends. The solution lies within the realm of awareness. It is our mightiest shield against the sly intrusion of big tech companies into our ownership rights. It is by being conscious of what we're subscribing to, we can opt for decisions that reflect our preferences and principles. Let's kick off with terms of service. Those extensive technical jargon-loaded documents that we often just glance through or completely ignore. But within these documents lies the secret to what we're forfeiting when we click, "I agree." It is crucial to spare some time to scrutinize them, to question them, and if required, to dispute them. Bear in mind your voice is significant. Moving on, let's delve into how to support creators directly. We exist in an era where we can bond with creators globally, and this bond provides us the advantage to back them directly. By choosing to purchase directly from creators, we can aid them in preserving their ownership rights and ascertain their work is cherished and safeguarded. But do the platforms we utilize respect our ownership rights? Are there any substitutes? The answer is affirmative. Decentralized platforms are surfacing as potent alternatives to big tech. These platforms employ blockchain technology to guarantee that ownership rights are inscribed into the core structure of the platform. By opting to utilize decentralized platforms, we're casting our votes with our clicks and our money for a future where ownership is esteemed and preserved. Each step we take, every decision we make, is a proclamation about the type of digital world we aspire to dwell in. So, let's make these decisions knowingly, cognizant of their consequences. Let's advocate for our rights and the rights of creators worldwide. Your decisions can mold the future of ownership. Let's take a step back and reflect on what we've learned today. We began our journey by exploring the changing nature of ownership in the digital age. The landscape of ownership is rapidly evolving, transforming from tangible possessions into intangible assets. We are no longer simply buying a book, a music album, or a software program, we are purchasing the license to use them. We then delved into the role of big tech in this seismic shift. These technological titans wield an immense influence over our digital lives. They are not just the gatekeepers of our digital assets, but the architects of the rules that govern them. Through their terms of service and end-user license agreements, they dictate the terms of our digital ownership. But beneath the surface of these agreements lies the fine print, the often overlooked details that can drastically alter our understanding of what we own. We discovered that the devil is indeed in the details. The fine print often reveals that we are merely renting these digital commodities, despite the perception of ownership. We also examined the impact of this shift on creators. Artists, writers, and developers who pour their heart and soul into their work are often caught in the crossfire. Their creations are commoditized, their rights compromised, and their revenue reduced. The digital age, while providing unprecedented opportunities for creativity, also presents significant challenges for creators striving to maintain control over their work. Looking ahead, we pondered the potential future scenarios. Could a world exist where we own nothing and are happy, as some predict? Or will we see a backlash, a return to tangible goods and clear ownership rights? The future is uncertain, but it is clear that the decisions we make today will shape the world of tomorrow. Finally, we discussed the power of awareness. Understanding the nuances of digital ownership is the first step towards asserting our rights. We must question, probe, and challenge the status quo. Knowledge, as they say, is power. And in the digital age, this adage rings truer than ever. So where does this leave us? The landscape of ownership is undoubtedly complex, filled with legal intricacies and technological challenges. But this is our world, and we must navigate it with care. We must be vigilant, proactive, and informed. We must engage in dialogue, challenge the powerful, and advocate for fair and equitable rules. Ownership in the digital age is a complex issue, but one that we all need to understand and address. Together we can shape a future where ownership means something.